That's not working. Okay, welcome.
Just $3.49. You can get 2 patties, sizzling bacon, and melty cheese, dripping in tangy sweet Carolina Gold barbecue sauce. That's a lot of gold for just $3.49. Find it with the new Gold Digger Double Cheeseburger.
We mute everybody. Okay, great. That's our Zoomers. That's kind of like taking a microphone to the bathroom, you know, or having an open mic in your car and you're saying something to the other occupant in the vehicle that you wish that 3,000 people didn't hear, and they did. You have to do the walk of shame for a couple of months. I don't know. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Toby Claremont, the past president. How good is that? Dave Sherba and his wife are on leave in South Africa as we speak. Went there for their son's wedding, and hopefully he doesn't get eaten by something while he's down there. I know they're going into the bush, so we wish him a good time to relax and have a good time. So we're glad you're here, and everybody is here so early. How cool is that? Really great. Okay, so let's see if we have any guests. Let's go through that. Is there anybody here? A show of hands. It's the first time you've ever been here, and we'll admit it. I'll bring a microphone to you, and if you'd stand for a moment and introduce yourself and your call sign. Start right here.
Rich, KJ7 RXJ, Fairgrounds area.
I'm Troy, KK9er Echo Oscar Lima, and from Hazeldale.
Brought his little girlfriend here, Gaia. Don't kick Gaia, that wouldn't be so good. Anybody else? All right, Rick Meister. Rick Meister. You'll hear more about Rick in the months to come.
November Echo 7 Oscar, Rick Aragon, past president, directors, whatever.
He's been everything. I think he's been vice president of the United States and a few things. I don't know what the heck. Any new hams or upgrades that have happened in the since our last meeting? Okay, what did you manage to accomplish?
Bill Lewis, KJ7ZMH, migrated from technician to general. It took a while. Yeah.
Tell me about it. In my day, you had to do 13 words per minute to get there, and it took a long while. There's some folks in here that do CW like they sleep. Me, no, not so easy. Anybody else? Upgrades. All right. So I'll mention something about the VE session coming up later in the month a little bit. Anybody got any special awards or whatever? You know, you were knighted by Queen Elizabeth or something along those lines? Nothing along those lines. Okay, good. It's nice when you're not president. You can be kind of a smart aleck and you don't have to worry about too much. Okay, so tonight I'm gonna give you a little information that Dave asked that I passed to you in his absence, and then some requests for assistance. We're always looking for good volunteer help in the club, and so that way we're not wrestling anybody down in the alley next door. We're gonna update you on the status of our repeaters, which is good, and then we're gonna hear a wonderful presentation on N1MM by Al. Al, do this. Okay, that's the light that's coming off his head will tell you who he is. Yeah, he's gonna do all kinds of. So there's plenty of time allocated for him because it's a pretty important topic, and we use it at field day. So if you want to know how to use N1MM, this is the time to get on board with that, especially when you have brand new general ticket in your pocket. A logging program, and then we'll do some general announcements and a few things, and then we'll get you out the door. How does that sound? Pretty good deal. 50 cannot be forgotten, and James will have me by my throat. Okay, so a couple of president's items. Let's see, I'll give you a couple here. One of them is, you'll notice in front of James there, he has about 10,000 name badges. So when you, so if you, before you go too far this evening, you might want to sort of stroll on down there and see if your name or somebody you know is on there. I'll take 5 or 6 more if you want. You know, we're just trying to get rid of them. They seem to be everywhere. They're costly to mail. So we really prefer not to mail them. And it's kind of the reward for coming to a physical meeting. So you could do that. Okay, so I added one item in there. We have a VE session on the 19th. It's a Saturday coming up. And that'll be the last VE session, as far as I know, when we will not be collecting the new FCC fees. And my understanding of that is the new fees are for new licenses, new people coming on board, not for upgrades. So if you want to avoid, pulling things out of your wallet too often, and you're on the cusp, or you just need a little bit of a nudge to finish off your study, to get that first ticket, or somebody that hasn't yet taken their technician exam, this would be the time to do that. So please do a reminder for people.
Oh,
We're still, yes, please. Who's calling?
this is Wayne calling. The date should be the 16th, the Saturday.
The 16th. Okay, I got it. That's right. I'm supposed to be there too. How I should know that. Thanks, Wayne.
You bet.
Okay, we're still looking for a vice president. It's not as bad as it sounds. You're still alive? Okay. Now, Wayne, who you just heard, has been for many, 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 many years, has been the editor, designer, writer, even newspaper boy for the Rocking Chair, our newsletter. And our Rocking Chair newsletter is recognized throughout the Pacific Northwest. People regularly tell us that our newsletter is better than theirs. And then you look at their newsletter and they've taken pieces out of it, some similar designs, and that's the greatest tribute. So, so what we need to help Wayne. He can't do it forever. He's already announced his retirement, right, Wayne? And we need somebody to come along. And what you get out of it is, besides our eternal gratitude, is some good coaching and training by Wayne. He'll show you how to do it. It's not as hard as it sounds. So come on board, do something if you're looking for a way to contribute to the club. One thing that I feel personally about is that at some point in your club career, you should have served in some kind of officer or leadership position to help the club along. Nobody here gets paid for anything. People help out. You hear that story a lot. It's really true. And when Rick here was introducing himself, and you see he was a past president, past vice president, past director, there's a lot of people like that in this club who have put forth many hours to help us go. And so we're grateful for that. Delvin and Phil's in the background with his arms crossed back there. Delvin's not here this evening. They've decided they're retiring as instructors. And we depend on the instructors to bring, the other Phil. Yeah, the other Phil, that's right. But anyway, it's time for them to step aside for a little bit. They're looking for new folks to step up as instructors. So if you feel you'd like to teach one of the courses, the technician class or the general class, I think you'd want to talk to one of those two gents, or Dave or me or anybody, and we'll kind of point you in the right direction. Not difficult to get designated as an ARRL instructor. You just need to, I think, been in the hobby for a while so that you know the content well and have good instructional skills. And then lastly, Rick here, you want to talk about Geek Creek for a minute?
Yeah, I contacted the DOT and it's still closed out of G Creek. I've been hounding them. I've called them 3 times already. I'm getting to know the guy pretty well. But as soon as they open up the site again, we'll put up a sign-up sheet and get G Creek started again. Is anybody have any questions about G Creek, what it's about or anything? Okay. Well, okay. G Creek is a rest stop right outside of town, just north of us over here, just north of us over here. And we set up there and take donations, provide coffee and cookies and what have you for the travelers that come through I-5. And typically we set up on the southbound side. But we usually have 2 teams of 2, sometimes 3. A lot of the guys used to work with each other. They'll team up with their friends and get 3 people out there. But we usually have 2 4-hour shifts or whatever, however we could set them up. But typically we don't have any problems finding people to man the stations. But I'll be opening them up and closing it, so we won't have to worry about that. And I've had a few guys volunteer their time to help me do that too. So But typically that's what the club does, and we earn spare change that way. It's usually pretty good spare change. So there's no, according to the rules of G Creek out there, the DOT, we can't advertise, we can't have anything on our cups or anything like that. But we can provide a sign out there who we are and what we're doing. So you'll see that sign up sheet hit the meetings here as soon as I can convince them to open up the stations. So they're usually like 4 hours, two 4 hours. I mean, some guys go back to back on them, you know, and they'll stay for longer, but typically that's what they are, about 4 hours. Yeah, we're usually there 2 days. Yeah, so.
So when you're taking the I-5 north and there's the battleground off ramp, that's Ski Creek right there. And and then the other side, you give me a chance to finish. On the other side is another one, another rest station, another rest stop. And I think that's the one we staff, right? Yeah. So it's not far from here, but then again, it's not in the city or whatever. Phil. Did you get convicted for taking them? I don't know. Yeah. So the money for the club is in not only for the coffee, but in their tips. So if you're nice and friendly and they know that we deliver community service, you're going to hear a lot about community service tonight because we've got a lot sort of powering up. Everything from CPAC to the MS Walk to Hazeldell. We've got a lot going on in the next couple of months. And so we give a lot to the community, your time, and this is just another way of doing it. There's another way to generate some revenue from all that. While I'm on the sort of announcements from my page, any other questions anybody has? Okay, because chances are you might have a question about one of those events, and you're going to hear about it this evening as we get into it. Now, as Zoom, is there anybody out there on Zoom? I see Margaret there. Hi, Margaret. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, awards banquet. Let me pass this to Phil, and he's going to tell you about the awards banquet coming up in May.
Hey, I'm Phil, 87RW. I'm your awards volunteer banquet salesperson. And, hopefully you're not going to wait till the last minute because the 8th of or 6th of May is the date we have to call in the meal numbers. And right now we're half sold out. So don't sit around waiting. $20 and you're going to enjoy yourself at this awards banquet. It's real, a lot of fun and very enjoyable.
And the prizes, that's correct. When he's talking about the back table, so you want to go to that back table back there. He was giving away free T-shirts, but as you can see, the hangers are just left. He was giving them all away. Edmund came by and he dropped a bunch of bags over there. He's got about 200 years of QSTs. Don't we all have 200 years of QSTs? I don't know, but if you'd like QSTs, the minimum allotment is one full bag. Don't go digging through it. Take one copy and leave the rest for us to find a home for. So if you don't have QSTs, you're not a member of ARRL. Look through the bag and you see something in there, take the whole bag. So we'd hate to send a goon squad after you. A couple other things. Tom here mentioned to me that there's a what do they call it? Sponsor a senior, rescue a restaurant. You know, COVID-19 hasn't been hard just on us and our families. It's really been rough on people that are shut-ins at home, and it's been rough on restaurants. I live outside of Battleground, and we've lost several restaurants, really good ones that we really enjoy. So anyway, they're asking for some help in helping to move meals from restaurants to senior homes. And if you think you'd like to help with something like that, talk to Tom over here. He's our Point of contact, I say belly button. Go talk to him if you want to get involved in that because it's good stuff. I don't know what kind of belly button he has. I don't want to look and see. It's kind of ugly, I guess. Okay, Lord's Banquet. Let's move to MS Flock. Who's going to talk about that? Is that you, Bern?
Thanks, Toby. All right, so last call, we have, I think when I counted yesterday, 16 volunteers, which is great. A few more would be better because there's always some people that may have to cancel right at the end. So the whole thing is 2 weeks from tomorrow, about 9 o'clock in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. The weather is supposed to be good. I checked it again. Long-term weather forecast, you know, is extremely reliable here. You can tell what the weather will be like in July, August, September. You really do. The sign-up sheet for the event is actually on the website. 16, 17 people have signed up, so it's easy to find. It's on the main page. Just click the button, put your name in there, call sign, email address, phone number, and then you go. That's it.
Problem. If you're vindictive, put somebody else's name on there. Yeah. Hold up. CPAC. Who's going to talk about CPAC? CPAC. Who's going to talk about CPAC?
Gary's going to talk about CPAC.
Oh, thanks, Gary. I'm glad to hear you're on there. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is just a reminder on some CPAC stuff. CPAC is going to start out with a QSO party on 28 May, which is the weekend before CPAC. And Marilyn's going to coordinate the club activity. And when she gets some information on it, why it'll be on the website and come out on an email with the specifics. CPAC itself is still on the burner. Our new appointment in a position for health and safety, Toby, advises us that COVID won't be a problem in June. So we're pressing forward, expecting a full-time in-person event that everybody can enjoy. We have a lot of exhibitors that have set up. We have had an additional workshop added to the 3. So now we have 4. But registration's been open. Process has changed. It's online only. If you show up down there, you won't be able to buy it. The registrations will not be mailed. They'll be available in will call. So you don't have to worry about forgetting them at home and that sort of thing. The acknowledgement that you have been registered is being worked on to be sent out to everybody, hopefully later this week. I know you all signed up and you got your paid tab from PayPal or Square or whoever you paid by, but you didn't get an acknowledgement from CPAC, but that should be coming here shortly. Prizes are a little bit different. You need to purchase tickets for prizes, all the different categories: main prize, early bird, hourly drawings. And they'll be available for purchase in the lobby area of the convention center. I mentioned we have several commercial vendors. The list is on the website now of who signed up so far, and it grows just about daily. I mentioned, well, the flea market, of course, and the 4 workshops now. And we have lots of seminars in line. The list is growing there also, the banquet, and of course, a lot of prizes. And visit the CPAC website, www.cpac.org. Next slide, please.
It's up.
It's up already, okay. We're looking for volunteers. CPAC is completely operated with volunteers. No one's paid on there, on the staff. So we need volunteers. The Clark Club several years ago became a co-sponsor with the amount of volunteerism that we support the activity with. And to go along with that, we provide the chairman for CPAC every other year. And this year, Greg Schuster, KI7DTS, which for this club, is the chairman. Next year, the Audvar Club will provide the chairman, and the vice chairman will be an individual from this group. And the year after that, it rotates. So every other year, it's every other club. And we'll be looking for a volunteer for this. It's an interesting position because you get to work all the aspects of CPAC. And it really helps if you have a little bit of experience with CPAC. The list there of volunteers that we're looking for are specific areas within CPAC that we need volunteers, primarily down at the event. So if you're interested in volunteering for one of those areas, give us some assistance, one or more of them. We have some people that volunteer for more than one. You can send an email to volunteers@cpac.org, or on our website, there's a sign up sheet on the activities page. So look forward to seeing you down there. It should be good. It's going to be live unless the little bug rears its ugly head at the last minute, which we're not looking forward to. And that's all I have, Toby.
Thanks, Gary. And we have one paid commercial announcement for security as well.
Hi, everybody. KG6CI, Bruce. I do the security for the CPAC convention. I do have sign-up slots. They're about 2 hours apiece. For each slot you sign up for, if you're there, that's providing. All you have to do is sit in a chair. Most of the exits are only exits, and there's only going to be entrance at the front door, so it's going to make it a lot easier for a lot of people. That's only for Saturday and Sunday. Friday, they got the workshops going on, and pretty much anybody that has the name badge, that'll say workshop or whatever, and they'll be okay to come in and do their things. We'll also have the vendors coming in and the flea market on Friday, so that they'll be in and out loading their stuff. So Friday is usually not a very important day, so to speak. We just sit around and watch, make sure people don't start coming in. At any rate, for each slot that you put in, I put your name in a drawing, and each day we do a $50 gift certificate for HRO. And then on Sunday, I put everybody's name back in and draw it out for a $100 gift certificate for the same place. At any rate, I'll pass this around, and any questions? So everybody knows everything. Okay. All right.
$50 gift certificates. That's the gas to drive to HRO and back. Right? So nowadays, I don't know. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Gary. CPAC. Yeah, so CPAC, we haven't had a real in-person, face-to-face, up close and personal CPAC for 2 years. And it was really painful to those folks that put it on, because they really enjoy doing it, and for the people that come. And so this year, the projection is that we're good to go. And even if, I'm a public health guy, as most of you know that, even if COVID-19, one of the new variants, decides to come up and bite us on the fanny, I suspect the worst that will happen is we'll ask people to wear a mask. That will be it. We will not shut down the event. Nobody is anywhere I've talked to, either in Oregon or Washington, colleagues have told me that is likely to happen. So it's a good thing we don't have it in August, because who knows what could happen in August, but June, things look good. So please do sign up, not only as a participant in CPAC, but also as a volunteer and help out, because it's really a lot of fun. Please, Steve. Yeah, we did. So yeah, several things have had to change. There's some tax laws about, gifts and awards and that kind of thing. So a few administrative adjustments have had to be made. And we're radio amateurs, right? So we're really big on change. So pay attention. So that's why we have a security force. No, not really. Come on now. Lewis and Clark on the air. Seems like we've been talking to Mern here. He knows his stuff, man.
Okay. Who has not heard about this event, Lewis and Clark on the air? Everyone. That's good. So I don't need to go through every single slide tonight. We're going to focus on the main points and why we even have this on the agenda for tonight. So the Lewis and Clark Trail on the Air event is something that I think Tim came up with. And it's, if you participated in something like Route 66 or the 13 Colonies, I think it's called, in July, this is similar. So it's an operating event. It runs over a certain amount of time. And the theme basically is for everyone to work stations that are along the route of the Lewis and Clark Trail. And the way we thought about doing this, instead of trying to figure out who lives anywhere close to that, we were looking for clubs that are located along the trail. We are obviously one of them, and that's where our name for the club comes from. I still have to learn quite a bit about Lewis and Clark. And Seaside, yep, it's pretty close to the convention center. That's okay. So back to the event, the whole thing runs around 2 weeks. It's kind of embedded between the CCARC, but the event starts on the weekend when we actually hopefully all going to be at the coast, and it ends in June, and then the weekend after that I think is field day, or 2 weeks after that. So it's going to be a busy month. But the way we're structuring this and looking for volunteers, you will see this in a few minutes here. It's relatively easy to sign up for. I talked already about this. You will be, if you participate in this event, you can do this from various different locations. The requirement is you are located in Washington. Obi. Like a little school kid. What did I say? Requirement is you have to be in Washington. You can operate from home. You can operate from your car. You can operate from a park, from your boat. Boat probably not, but you have to be located in Washington. We have many bands available. The standard bands that are used in contests and operating events on HF and VHF. This slide gives you a little bit of an overview. We have 20, right, clubs signed up to participate, and it goes across all the states. I'm not going to ask you which ones they are because we're not in school anymore. Along all the 16 states, 20 clubs participating in this. When you participate, like in any other operating event, you can accomplish something. In this case, you have the chance of getting a relatively simple certificate, which requires you work one of the participating clubs, or you become an expedition partner, which means you have worked all of these clubs that are participating in this event. The certificates will be handed out at the end. There will be a relatively small fee because we cannot just print those for no cost and send them out for no cost. The idea behind this event is also to add additional funds to the club, right? So we're trying to sell these certificates at a price that is reasonable, but there will be a little bit left over, which will then go into the pockets of the club. And hopefully we can do this event over and over every year If you look at some of the numbers, the 13 colonies event last year had 150,000 participants. That's a lot. And I don't know what our goal is, but I think we were thinking about if we maybe have to hand out 400 to 500 certificates, then we reach our initial goal. So you've probably seen a lot of this already in various publications. What this really is about is a call for action, asking for volunteers. The event is an operating event. It's not a contest. So it's relatively casual. You typically would sign up for a 2-hour slot. It can be phone, it can be CW, it can be FT8. And you have 24 hours a day, about 2 weeks, I think 15 days in total. So there's plenty of options to participate. You don't just have to participate once. You can participate multiple times. And if you want to do it 20 times, you're welcome to do so. We want to make sure that our club is on the air and represented as often as possible. There will be, people trying to look for members on the air because it's published everywhere. It will be in QST and many other, and you may have seen it on QRZ.com. It's on the web. So people will be looking for participants from this club. The way we will actually identify when we participate in this event is we will all run under the same call sign, which is the call sign of the club, W7AIA. One back. So for the sign up, we typically follow the same sign up option that we have, but we were a little late to get this on the website for the club. So that will come in a few days. You can send me an email, which is on the slide there, or you sign up on a little sheet of paper that I will be passing around. And that's it, unless you anyone have any questions, either from the audience here tonight or on the Zoom call.
Thanks, Bern. So if you've been sitting at home whining about nothing happening in the club during COVID-19, this is the time to climb out from under your rock. And this, in my mind, is a really important event. It's the first for our club. It's the first for our nation. And if anybody can claim some ownership of Lewis and Clark, it's got to be us. So jump on board. Just take a look at our logo. I mean, it's pretty cool. So Lewis and Clark, we own Lewis and Clark. They don't know it yet. Well, they've been dead for a while. But a lot of effort by people like Bern and Jason and Tim, guys sitting right up here in the front, Marilyn. A lot of folks have put a lot of time into this thing. And it could be enormously enjoyable for all of us. Hazeldale, you want to talk about that, Phil, or who's going to talk about that? Maybe it's me, huh? Okay. May 21st, Hazeldale Parade here in Vancouver. Between about 07:30 and about 1400 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We need about 25 volunteers. And like always, there is a sign-up sheet on our website, our new website, and in the back. So you want to go have some fun during the day on a nice day. It will be a nice day. I'm predicting that. Come on out for Hazeldale Parade. The last 2 years we've been saying no parades, no. Well, the cup run is over right now. We've got a lot of really good activities. So pick a couple and jump on board. And then Field Day 2022. That'll be June 2-4, June 2-6. It'll be where it's been traditionally. And again, we're together out there with the public and see what we do. So it should be a lot of fun. Set up us on the 24th, and then we'll operate the 25th and 26th until, I guess that 26th is a Sunday, huh, Tim? You think? think that's a Sunday. That's something like that. Better be. So don't miss out on field day. Now, can I talk about you for a second, Jason? Would you? Sure. Okay. See Jason over here. He waves his hand. He's like this real. He was this real quiet, highly competent amateur. That's part of Aries that I am as well. So a couple other people, and he went to field day, signed up for a shift, and we couldn't get him out of the place, and he became an extraordinary operator. Because he put in a lot of time and he talked to a lot of people and learned. So if you're a general class or above, especially, and maybe you just don't have much time, talk time, come to field day. There'll be plenty of opportunity. So we'll gently nudge you on this. In other words, hammer you for the next month or so about field day. It's our big event. Let's go into repeaters real quick. Our repeaters are looking pretty good. Most of you know that we had a little bit of a problem with one of our mountaintop sites where the State Department of Natural Resources felt we had overstayed our welcome. And we've got that thing that seems to have settled to a certain extent. But we had to remove a couple of repeaters on Mount Larch and put one in storage. Another one's being moved. The D-Star gateway is being moved to OHSU over in Oregon. But reallocating things, taking the load off the site and the number of antennas off their tower, where they're concerned about ice load. You know, if thing looks like a porcupine and we get a bunch of ice up there, we can bring the tower down. And that's a site for public safety. So it's pretty important that we not bring it down. So we've got things, like I said, seem to be pretty stable right now. So all is well. So I'd like to introduce Al Rovner. K7AR, who will talk about N1MM. Yeah. I think
Yep. There's a menu, a slide, full screen menu. Good evening, everybody, and good evening to everybody on Zoom. You see the slideshow menu? It's up at the top. You could also press FN plus F5. No, not that, not that one. There you go. Okay. With a field day coming up a couple months away, I thought it would be interesting to talk about N1MM, which we're going to use the club is going to use for logging all the field day contacts. Plus, for those of you who get on in contests, you need a way to do that yourself. So before we talk about that, let's look a little bit about history. These radio sport competitions go back pretty much 100 years. And back then they were local in nature. Clubs asked their members to work the farthest distance, work the most number of countries that you can, make the most number of contacts that you can. And in fact, that tradition lives on right here in this club, right, Tim? We're at the banquet. We're going to present a trophy for the club member that's made the most number of QSOs. So that tradition lives on. Contesting is good because it increases your operating skills. You get accustomed to handling a pileup. You will have a pileup. What do you do if 10 stations call you or 50 stations call you? So this is good for day-to-day stuff, emergency communications. Now in 1948 is kind of when the big contest balloon went up. That's when the first official CQ magazine worldwide DX contest took place. And that's a very popular event. But what about today? So if we fast forward to today, contesting is very popular. There's all kinds of people that get on. There's contests on every weekend, all year long, tens of thousands of people. And these things are sponsored by radio societies like the ARRL or clubs or magazines like CQ magazine. So contests come from all over the place. everyone has different rules. You need to keep in touch with what am I supposed to send? What am I supposed to receive? How do I log it? What's my score? How many multipliers are there? And we need some simple way to do this. So if you look at this, this is a little bit old, but this shows contests for November 2021 for the first 5 days of November. So how many, I don't know how many are on that list, 15 or 20 in the first 5 days alone of last November. So how do we make sense of all this stuff? I recommend choosing a contest or activity you're interested in. I like working RTTY. I like the RTTY contest, mainly for nostalgia. Nobody really runs RTTY anymore since FT8 took over. What about QSO parties? I like participating in the Washington Salmon Run. I like participating in the 7th QSO party, where the 7th QSO party tries to get all counties in W7 land on the air. That's a pretty big task. That's, all the W7 states and their counties, or a worldwide event like the CQ or ARRL contest. One of the things that can benefit you is if you're chasing countries, this is a great way to get on and work 100 countries in a weekend. I've done it. It's possible. Now, so you've chosen the activity you'd like to use, but how are you going to keep logs and your score and how many multipliers and so forth? So we're going to use N1MM software to do that. And it says right on their website, it's the most popular, the features are unmatched, blah, blah, all this stuff. Okay, that's pretty much true. This is the URL down at the bottom. You can just search for N1MM. You'll find it. It's very easy. So for those of you who are new at this, I really recommend going through this getting started section. There's a lot to learn. Okay, there's all kinds of documentation. I'm going to mention that again a little later on. Now, there's 2 parts to this. There's the full install and the latest update. You have to have both of them. Now, I have them on the laptop here, and we'll go through, after I'm done with my talk, we'll go through and install it and look live at some of the things that I'm talking about. The latest update, to give you an idea, is released every week or 2. They come out with updates all the time, every week. When you start N1MM, it will tell you, oh, there's a new update. Then the next time you start it, oh, there's a new update. They come out all the time. So you need to get both of them. And here they are in my downloads directory. So you need to download the full installer and whatever the latest update is. This was done last October. So there's been probably hundreds of updates since last October. When you start N1MM for the very first time, you need to enter your station information. Your call sign, your location, your latitude and longitude, ARRL section, email, et cetera, et cetera. This keeps track of, it can give you bearing to, it wants your latitude and longitude so it knows what bearing to point your antenna at. Okay. This is an important concept. N1MM stores everything in databases. You may be thinking, I don't know anything about databases. I don't know how to create them or manage them. It does all the work for you. It's very straightforward. And you can have multiple logs in a database. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to have one log in one database for one contest. So I have a whole lot of these scattered about on my hard drive. But that setup right there is certainly possible. And I'll show you an example of that at the end. Here's, in order to create a new database, you just select it from the menu. You select File, New Database. It's as simple as that. And then where they're stored is here in the in your documents N1MM databases folder. That's where they're stored by default. You don't have to put them there, but you can. And here's you can see 3 from the 7th QSO party from 2015, 17, and 18. This S3DB is a database format that's free and open source. So it's become very popular. You don't have to pay for it. And again, N1MM will just create the database for you. All you have to do is tell it where and give it a name. Now, between this slide and the next slide, I created a new database called Field Day 2022. Okay. Now that we've created a database, we need to define a log to put in that database. And again, it's very straightforward. Just going to say file, new log in Field Day 2022. Now, when you do that, you have to select what kind of contest do you want this log to be. And the choices are endless. There are dozens of choices. And on this screen, I've highlighted the ARRL Field Day one. Okay. And you can see all the different contests it supports, at least on that screen. It keeps going. There's dozens of them below that. Okay, so we need to pick our contest. And like I said a minute ago, every contest has different properties and rules and so forth. And you have to define that here. So here I've picked Field Day up here for the log type. And then it wants me to fill in all these other fields. Single operator, multi-operator, what band, what power level, what's your exchange, okay? Who are the operators? How many transmitters are there? Okay, so you have to define this once per contest. And once you do that, you're ready to get going. So we've installed the software. We've set up our station properties and our location. We've created a new database for Field Day and a new log. So now we're ready to get on the air and call CQ Field Day, right? Can you tell I'm being a little sarcastic? Now, you could, at this point, you could absolutely get on there and call CQ Field Day. But you have to manage what band you're on yourself. See, that has 20 meters circled here, okay? If your radio's on 15 meters and that's on 20 meters, you just made a whole lot of contacts in the wrong band. And when you stagger into the shack in the middle of the night, that's a problem, because I've done that. So how can we prevent that from happening? The answer is we want to add some hardware support. We want N1MM to connect to our radio, possibly our antenna rotator. The options are endless. Okay. By connecting with our radio, N1MM will read the exact frequency that you're on and the mode and so forth. And that gets logged with every contact you make. So how do we do that? Let's look for a minute here at what happens when I plug my IC 7610 into my computer. Everything that's in the red boxes you see is a result of plugging in an IC 7610 and turning it on. I get 2 serial ports and I get a audio sound interface called USB audio codec. Now, if you have a 7300, you only get 1 COM port. So we're going to take COM 3 and we're going to tell N1MM to use that to communicate with the radio. Okay. And the way you do that is by going into something N1MM calls the configurator, and you need to put your hip waders on for that. The configurator is difficult and complex to use, in my opinion, but we want to select configure ports, mode control, etc. The configurator has 10 tabs across the top where you can set up any number of things. And it's
all I can say is refer to their website for details. All we're going to look at in this talk is the hardware tab and some of these ports. Okay, so in here, there are several, well, there are eight different ports they have available. Now, what I'm going to do is if I drop down the port, you can see what my PC has available. It has 4 COM ports. And then under the radio drop-down list, there are, I'd be shocked if any of you has a radio that's not on this list somewhere. And it doesn't have to be a new radio like a 7610. It can be an older radio, but it needs to have a control port. You need an RS-232 port or USB or something that N1MM can talk to. Okay, so I'm going to pick COM3 from that left-hand window, and I'm going to pick IC7610 from the right-hand window, and that's what we have up here. Now, I need to hit this set button under details where it says set. I need to go into COM3 and set the old-fashioned baud rate parity stop bits like we've done for many decades. That's still applicable, okay? And these need to match what the radio is set to. Once this is set up properly, N1MM can now fully communicate with your radio. Here's a little snippet of my ARRL CW contest. You look at these first 6 entries. Apparently, I was calling CQ because the frequency is all on 21003. Then after that, I went to 40 meters and I started working Europeans. And you can see the frequency is different for every contact. And again, this is because N1MM logs the frequency you're on for each contact you make. It sounds simple, but it's really helpful. Again, when you walk into the shack in the middle of the night, you want your logging software and your radio to be on the same frequency or at least the same band. Okay, so this is what you get when you enter the frequency reading capability. Also on this screen, I don't show it here, but if I check the CW other box, and then I'm telling it to use one of these handshaking lines to key CW, N1MM will send perfect CW for you. I use that all the time. Now, this is a complex topic. All of you have different radios, different hardware, different interfaces. So how exactly do you know how to hook all this stuff up? It's very dependent on your specific configuration. But like I said here, if you have an RS-232 port, no problem, you're good to go. Even if your computer doesn't have an RS-232 port, you can use a USB converter, okay? And that will allow you to interface your radio. So let's look at what we want to do before we start a contest. We want that latest update installed. The prefix file is something you want to update before the contest. This prefix file is maintained by Alpha Delta 1 Charlie, who's in Colorado. And he keeps it up to date right to the exact day of the contest. So when you see a funny call sign and you don't know what country it is, N1MM will know, as long as you get that prefix file updated. We're going to make a new database and a new log. We're going to set up our contest properties. We'll set up the radio like I just described, and then we're going to get on and make a lot of QSOs, okay? N1MM will show you your score, how many contacts, etc. I'll show you that in a minute. After the contest, I like to remove all the radio interfaces so I can just open it up. Every time you start N1MM up, it will restore whatever the previous settings were. So if the previous settings were to communicate with your radio and it's turned off, that's okay, but it'll get confused and you'll get an error message. No big deal. We're going to make a Cabrillo file and we're going to send that to the sponsor of the contest. Could be ARRL, could be CQ, 7th QSO party, whatever it is. Then we're going to create an ADIF file, and we're going to import that into whatever you use for your logging software. Could be Ham Radio Deluxe, could be N3FJP, whatever you use, we'll import that ADIF file in so you have a record of all the contest contacts you made. And I always like to make a backup copy of that database. Put it on another PC, put it in the cloud, put it somewhere else just to be safe. Okay. Now, from time to time, you're going to need to open existing contest logs. And we do that kind of the same way when we created it. We're going to open a database and then open a log. Okay. So again, file, open database. And in here, you can see that ARRLCW contest that I was talking about. So we just open the database, and then we're going to look at ARRLDXCW. We're going to click on that, and that will open up your contest log. I do this, during a 48-hour contest, I like to sleep. So when I shut down for a while, I shut off everything, shut off all the equipment. I exit N1MM, and I come back later and start it up again. This picture on the right is from my expedition to Micronesia. And here I have 2 logs in the same database. I don't normally do that, but when I travel, I'll keep one for my DXpedition, and I'll keep one for whatever contest I was in. These DX and deleted queues are present in every database. Those are just logs that it puts in there for its own use, as far as I know. So to recap, go to their website, look at the Getting Started section. Lots of info is available here. Plus, there's a lot of people in the club that are pretty familiar with N1MM, and you'll see it at Field Day. If you participate in Field Day, you'll see it there. With that, thank you very much for listening. I'll entertain any questions, and I hope to get you on the air. Questions from locally here? Tim? The question is there an advantage to creating a separate database versus adding logs to an existing database? What makes me nervous is the more stuff you put in that one database file, the chances are something could happen to it. It could get corrupted. It starts getting big, so the performance can start getting slower. The more stuff that's in that database, the longer it takes N1MM to access and talk to specific areas. So it's just my preference. I prefer to keep things separate. Other questions? Any questions from Zoom users? Tom? Oh, no, not at all. The question is, do we need to be connected to the internet while N1MM is running? No, N1MM has nothing to do with the internet unless you want to download the latest version. I was talking about downloading the latest update. Yes, in that case you do, but during the contest, no, it can be completely disconnected, which is what, when I'm on one of my expeditions, I'm generally not on the internet at all. So no, it's not needed. Steve? The question is, when I demonstrated how I talked to my IC 7610 on COM3, how did I know to choose that? So the ICOM, the 7610 has 2 COM ports. It refers to as A and B. Okay. You look in the manual, it calls them A and B. Once you plug that into your PC, it could become any COM port number. In my case, it happens to be 3 and 5. It could be any number. It could be 1 and 2, 2 and 3, whatever. Absolutely. If I plug my radio into a different computer, would I get a different port number? Probably yes. Yeah. It's we're having a discussion here, Zoom members. It's I think all you have to do is right click the start button and select device manager. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The point was made that in order to see how do I know what COM ports my radio is on, look in the device manager like I showed in that slide where I had the items listed in the red boxes. If you do that, and one way to know for certain is to take your radio and disconnect it, then those items will disappear from the device manager. And if you plug the thing back in, they will reappear in the device manager. So there's no question what you're looking at. All right, James. Yes, N1MM is completely free, and it's maintained by volunteer software developers, volunteer amateurs, and like I said, they come up with latest updates every week or two. All right, with that, let me do a little live demonstration, and I'll go through the installation process, and we'll create a dummy field day contest. What's that? So let's see if I exit this. What are all these windows? Don't exit that one. Screen sharing is stopped as the shared windows close. That's okay. I want to share my desktop. Can I do that? Okay. Now, so if I open up my Windows Explorer and I go to downloads, here's the N1MM full installer, which I got yesterday. And if I just run that, this will only take a couple minutes, and I'll show you what the result is. The green text reminds me of the old days of the Unix green screen terminals, when we all used to have green text on our Unix terminals. Why is this taking so long? It's installing a TrueType font for whatever reason. Okay. No, I'm not going to reboot the computer. Okay, so now I'm going to install the latest update. See, this is where, as a speaker, you have to learn to ad lib when things that you don't plan for take a long time. So you have to learn to, talk about something relevant during this time. Okay, so now I'm going to run N1MM. And like I said, it's probably going to prompt me All right, I'm going to create a new database. What happened? Reload. Yeah, that's correct. What happened? See, okay, set up your stationing. All right. So what this wants to do right now is create a new database. And I'm going to just use this ham.s3. I'm just going to use that as a test. Set up your station info. So here's where it wants me to put in all this stuff. Let's see what I can get away with. So there we go. So here's our logging window. If I can minimize some of these other things, how do I minimize Zoom? Anyway, so one of the things I want to show you this also. If I open up a telnet window, I can telnet to my packet cluster, which I have at my house. Okay. And if I go to clusters, and I scroll down here, or I can search. This only happens when people are watching. So if I look at, there it is, k7ar.net. Okay. So I'm going to reconnect to that. That going to work? Tom, I want to follow up on a question. If you're connected to a DX cluster during the contest, then you do need internet access. Okay, because that's where all your info comes from. Why is this not connected? Reconnect. 7ar.net. Anyway, all right, I'll get out of that because that's not working. Here's the configurator, whatever they call this. Now this laptop, if I look at this, that's funny. It also has a COM3 and COM4, but where is that coming from? One of them is this mouse pointer, and the other one is, I don't know. I'm not sure where COM3 and 4 are coming from. Here's all the different radios that you can select. If I can make my way down this list here. Here's all the ICOMs, Zygoos, Kenwoods, Elecrafts, Yaesus, they're all in here. All right. So that's how we install N1MM and how to set up your initial contest. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thank you again for listening. And back to Toby.
Sal? You know, I was sitting down the table from Al this evening, watching him eat, and he really likes to keep things separate. He had his vegetables on one side and his meat on the other. And so, Tim, you know, it's just Al. This is the way it is. You know, he drives a Tesla. What can I say? Well, everybody, thank you. This concludes our meeting for the evening. Is there anything anyone wants to add? Yeah, we're going to do that, Gary. Gary's holding that winning raffle ticket there. He's already made a cash deal with James. So I'm going to pass the mic to him. But before I do, I'd like to thank you for being here and hope to see you again next month. James? And online, yeah. How many noses did we have online? Anybody know?
Real quick, before we
16.
start. Real quick before we start, we had I-Warn net control training a couple months ago, and I got a list of members who attended who wanted a certificate. We got a list of names of people who wanted a certificate. The certificates will be issued either at the next meeting or at the banquet. But these are the names I have. If anybody else wants a certificate, go ahead and let me know, and we'll get you a certificate and get you on the list. They haven't been printed yet. They've been created, but not printed. See, Reese Carpenter, Phil Marquez, Dave Sherber, Mike Brand, Stanley Nelson, Barbara Yason, Brian Hooper, Dave Mitchell, Ernie Cummings, Michael Crutch, Gary Hardeman, Randy Walker, Brent Denham, and Jeffrey Hildebrand. If anybody else wants one, just see me after the meeting. I get your call sign and your name. We'll get it made up and issued to you when you, if you attended the meeting, which you did. There are a lot of people there, more than this list of names that I have. So if you want a training certificate, let me know. We get you one. Good evening, KE7ZAC. Tonight, it's my honor to give away some money to a club member who contributed to the 50-50 fund. At this time, we'll go ahead and have, you did it last time, didn't you? How about John, the photographer, John Allen? N9YQ is going to draw a name. And he didn't buy a ticket. And we have tonight a total of $64. It's all here. And the winning ticket number tonight is 0413. 0413. The last four numbers, 0413 for $64. Come on up, my friend. Stay in his seat. He doesn't want the money. No, come on up here. You want to count it, Stanley? Yeah. All right. Okay, and the winner is, let's verify the number, 0413. There you go, my friend. Rod Brown, NV7C is the winner. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. We are adjourned.